Good morning and good Sunday morning to you. Welcome in, doing things a little bit different this Sunday since I am traveling. I wanted to not miss a message because there are those of you that are so loyal to this Sunday 9 a.m. spot right here, Facebook Live. Although I'm uploading this video that I previously put in and sending it out to you through the wonderful world of technology. Let's just leave it at that. I'm traveling to the Unity Ministers Convention in Overland Park, Kansas. I'm flying into Kansas City Airport, and then Monday I'll go over to Unity Village, and then the convention's at the hotel. So traveling today, be back to all things regular and normal next Sunday, whatever normal means. So I want to jump right in and share our Sunday message. Thanks for being here because we started a new message last week. We were talking about the pathways of transcendence, right? And today is another pathway of clarity. And what we're talking about is, each of us has our unique journey to walk during this human experience. And while each pathway is unique, there is a common urge within us all to transcend the mundane so that we might experience higher levels of being, higher levels of thinking, and higher levels of behaving in this human experience. Now, this urge in each of us to reach for these transcendent ways of living is fueled by an underlying urge, a deeper desire to experience our oneness with the divine, or said another way, to live the spiritual truth we all are. Now, this month we are supported in this quest as we look at different pathways of transcendence, each one taking us deeper and leading us higher into that desired state of consciousness, unity with God, unity, a conscious, always on awareness of our one of Godness, as I like to say, as we walk through this human experience. So last week, pathway the pathway I talked about was pathway to power. And you had an opportunity to choose a power word during the service, during my message, during the lesson. So, what are some of your words that you have selected? Remember, I listed a whole bunch of different words with different levels of vibration that were actually scored, that were given a rating. And mine is, and you can put them in the chat, put them in the comments section, go back to, if you're looking in at the YouTube video right now, go back to the video on Facebook that got this whole thing started and put in the comments section whatever your word is. In fact, just leave a comment over there so I know that this is working fine and you were able to see the Sunday message. So please like, comment, and share over on Facebook, that live video I did this morning to kick this off so everybody can see this. It'd be great if you could share it, comment in it. Anyway, the word I selected as we went through that list, and you can go back, you can scroll down on the Facebook page, and you can look at the video again. So I encourage you to do that if you missed it, because these power words are where we want to keep our energy and focus, because they add to all we are being and doing on this positive path for spiritual living. So the word I chose is acceptance. And now I created a statement around it to use when the storms of life knock me around a bit. Remember, I was talking about Jesus getting in the boat, calming the storming seas. So I put a statement together with my power word, acceptance. And it is, I live in full acceptance of this perfect moment. I live in full of acceptance of this perfect moment. And that tells me that I can deal with this moment in this moment right here and now, because that's all that's real to me anyway. Now, you might want to create a power statement using your own power word. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, be sure to catch the recording of that lesson from last week. Today, our pathway of transcendence is the pathway to clarity. The pathway to clarity, internal clarity, is something we all seek, but I know we often struggle finding it. The noises from the outer world, as well as the chatter from within our own heads and what's going on in here, can serve as great cover ups to the still small voice of truth within. I love this quote from Dr. Ernest Holmes and in his book, The Power of an Idea. He says, "It is from the mountaintop of spiritual communion that we receive the inspiration. So we must keep the channel free and clear. We must provide a way for the ideas of spirit to flow into our minds and out into what we are doing. And we must give our consent to them." As I was thinking about how we might provide a way for the ideas of spirit to flow into our minds and into what we are doing and how we might give our consent to them. And since we all think in pictures, the image, stay with me on this, the image of the Hindu god Ganesha came to mind. Now, Ganesha is the one that's made in the image of the elephant, with the trunk. Ganesha is known as, among other things, the clearer of obstacles, right? And I got this visual of this large lumbering elephant walking in front of us, right? Just stay with me. This large lumbering elephant walking in front of us, sweeping and swinging its trunk, clearing away all obstacles on our path that keep us from clearly hearing the one clear voice, the voice of God within, our inner voice, the one still small voice directing our way. I love that imaging of that vision that we can hold of that elephant clearing our way. Because here's the truth, and moving everything out so we can hear that one still small voice. Here's the truth statement. We all have immediate access to that voice. We all do. We're just covering it up. Ernest Holmes says no one need go unguided through life, for all are divine at the center and all are images of the Most High. Keeping in mind the image of this mighty and powerful, yet wise and loving elephant walking along our pathway of life, swinging its trunk to clear the way for us. Keeping that image in mind, let us look at 3 specific ways this sweeping of his trunk can create our pathway of clarity so that we might be able to better hear that inner voice that will always guide us. This first sweeping we're going to talk about is the sweep of shifting, okay? The second sweep is the sweep of forgiving. The third sweep is the sweep of opening. If we want to reach clarity, this order is important. Just as the debris and branches right in front of Ganesha's path must be cleared out before he can even reach the ones later down the road, right? So we gotta clear, just move these branches open, sweep. All right, let's look at the first one, shifting. The first sweep of the trunk, or of the, the elephant's trunk. The first sweep of the trunk is a sweep called shifting. Shift what? What are we shifting? Well, we're going to shift our perspective, okay? We're going to shift our perspective because whatever you're looking from is what you will see. Here's an example. A minister decided one Sunday morning that a visual demonstration would add emphasis to his temperance sermon. At the beginning of his talk, he placed 4 worms into 4 separate jars. The first worm, he was put into a jar of alcohol. The second worm was put into a jar of cigarette smoke. The third worm was put into a jar of chocolate syrup. The fourth worm was put into a jar of good, clean soil. And then he offered his sermon, during which he railed against the sins of indulgence of earthly pleasures such as alcohol, cigarettes, and chocolate, and advocated a life of good, clean living. As his grand finale to this fire and brimstone sermon, he reported the following results. The first worm in alcohol, dead. The second worm in cigarette smoke, dead. The third worm in chocolate syrup, dead. The fourth worm in good, clean soil, alive and wiggling. Now, this minister was feeling pretty pumped up with this powerful visual of the sermon he had just given and asked the congregation with confidence, "So, what can you learn from this demonstration?" Well, a little old lady, a woman in the back, quickly raised her hand and said, "As long as you drink, smoke, and eat chocolate, you won't have worms." Well, that is one perspective, but not the one the minister had, however. How does this apply for us as we look at the idea of clearing a pathway to clarity? Instead of affirming all the time that you don't know what to do, what to think, how to proceed, shift to the perspective that something within you does know, absolutely knows. Instead of expecting life to be hard, shift to the realization that the universe is conspiring for your good. Instead of thinking people are out to get you, shift your perspective to look for proof that everyone wants to help you. Instead of girding yourself for the negative, make plans for a positive result. Instead of looking at the worst case scenario all the time, look for your next great opportunity. Just a slight shift can make a huge difference, a huge difference. Do you see how changing your perspective of life can clear away some of the debris that is in the way of hearing the voice of the divine? We have to clear it out. That's the only thing staying there. Remember, I said it's always there. It's always accessible to us. But we move stuff in the way. We're the actual ones that are putting the stuff on the path that need to be cleared out. All right. The second sweep of Ganesha's trunk is the sweep of forgiveness, which can only happen if you are first willing to shift in perspective. These are going in order here. So you're shifting in perspective. Now we're going to sweep any unforgiveness out of the way. In 365 Signs of Mind, Ernest Holmes wrote, "It's only when we have completely forgiven that we can get a clearance in our own minds. For we are judged by the judgment with which we judge. If we criticize, condemn, and censure, these are the attitudes that occupy our thinking. They will not only reflect themselves inwardly, they will also reflect themselves outwardly. They must, for the without is but an extension of the within. This must take place. If we want a complete clearance of our attitudes, we must forgive everything and everyone, whether we like it or not, or whether we accept it or not. This is one of the great truths of life. Not only should we forgive others, but we should equally forgive ourselves. Until we release all of our own previous mistakes and failures, pain and suffering, we shall merely be monotonously repeating them today." He concludes with, "A great deal of our trouble, both mental and physical, is built on an unconscious sense of rejection and guilt." Isn't that the truth? Boy, do we often have that as a foundation. Now, every year, about 1,500 hikers set out to walk the entire Appalachian Trail in a single season. Now, only 10% complete the 2,160 miles of challenging terrain stretching from Georgia to Maine. One reason some people drop out early is that they carry too much in their backpacks, their packs they carry with them, their supplies. One man began his hike carrying a seriously overloaded backpack. He had a cassette player and 6 tapes of bird calls, an air pistol to keep the varmints away, a camera, a radio, an alarm clock. It ran on batteries, so he had extra batteries in his pack. At his first stop, he was already exhausted and ready to quit when he when an experienced hiker helped him go through his backpack. He took a look and helped him decide what to keep and what to send home. You know, each item was placed on a gram scale with the question, is it worth it? Do you want to carry this for the next 2,000 miles? The man discovered that his biggest problem was an accumulation of little things, not one big thing. Most of his extra weight was in ounces, not in pounds. He didn't need half of what was in his first aid kit, nor the extra tube of toothpaste. His heavy multi-tool knife was placed, he replaced it with one weighing only an ounce. A metal knife, spoon, and spork set gave way to a single plastic spoon. He sent home 26 pounds of unnecessary weight. Now, I know what that's like walking through an airport carrying too much stuff that I always bring with me on any trip. Now, if you have any regrets over past failures, judgments about what or how things should be, or resentment towards circumstances or people in your life, you are carrying that negative baggage, that negativity into your future. It's holding you back and poisoning your good. So the second sweep of Ganesha's trunk is the sweep of forgiveness of self and others, clearing the way to hear the clear voice of God from within. All right. And the third and final sweep of Ganesha's mighty trunk, which can only happen after we had some shifts in perspective and done some forgiveness clearing work. Well, this one is the sweep of the willingness to be open to listening to and following the voice within. Ralph Waldo Trine, the other Ralph Waldo, in his book, In Tune with the Infinite, says, if we will but follow this voice of intuition, it will speak ever more clearly and more plainly until by and by it will be absolute and unerring in its guidance. The great trouble with us is that we do not listen to and do not follow this voice within our own souls. And so we become as a house divided against itself. We are pulled this way and that, and we are never certain of anything. What a wake-up call. How do we learn to listen? Just like the muscles in your body, you must exercise it by listening and following. Listening and following, listening and following. Intuition. Intuition is one of those superpowers that's one of our mental faculties, and it's also a spiritual power. It's the still small voice that's guiding us along our way. I remember in training to become a certified master prosperity teacher with Edwin Gaines, we were to listen when we were about to do the fire walk, walking on hot flaming coals, barefoot. We had to listen, and she was very clear how to listen. If you're going to know, don't try it anyway. Your guidance is always going to steer you to your greater good in the right direction. You have to do that. And by doing that, paying attention to that, we're strengthening our listening muscles. And so there you have it. We have the three sweeps of Ganesha's trunk for clearing the path to clarity. The first sweep clears away perspectives that do not serve us. We move to a different perspective. The second sweep clears away hurt and anger and resentment. And the third shift clears away resistance to listening and following. It's the key is the following what we are given. So as we clear away the pathway, we create space in us to hear the voice of the divine inside. Ernest Holmes spoke of Jesus and our ability to hear that in the Science of Mind textbook. He said, Jesus spent much of his time communing with his own soul, for it is through our inner thought that we contact God. To this remarkable man, out of the silence of his own soul came a direct revelation of his sonship, his oneness with God, back of the conflict of ideas, back of the din of external life and action, back in the innermost recesses of uplifted thought and silent contemplation, there is a voice ever proclaiming, "This is my beloved Son." Seldom does this voice penetrate the outer world of human experience. Seldom do we allow it to perfectly express through us. But we must learn to listen for this voice. Call it conscience, intuition, or what we will. It is there. No one need go unguided through life, for all are divine at the center, and all are images of the Most High. That's what you are, an image of the Most High. So we got to do this work. We got to shift our perspective. If we keep looking from this place where this is going on, I can't do this, I can't do that, from that I can't place, I'll try, from that same energy, that same frequency, we're going to keep seeing the same thing. So we have to clear that away. We have to move to a higher perspective, a new vista where we can see beyond what's right here in front of us. We have to do that unforgiveness. We got to do that sweeping of that unforgiveness. We got to forgive, right? So I already summed it all up. I'm doing that again. I just think this is such a great piece, this pathway to clarity. We do that forgiveness, and then we listen. We sit with that still small voice. We seek, we ask, we knock. And it'll come. It might not come during your practicing the silence or in your meditation time. Might come somewhere else. Might come when you're walking through the supermarket. But it'll come. Listen, pay attention, and act. Remember our fifth unity principle. Through thoughts, words, and actions, we live the truth we know. Live in alignment with the voice of spirit. Let's just close our outer eyes and take a deep breath right this moment. And I'll share with you an affirmation. I invite you to make the affirmation of your heart. Spirit, speak to me in ways I cannot possibly ignore. Spirit, speak to me in ways I cannot possibly ignore. So I will know the path to take, the will of good, the direction to go, the answers I seek. Spirit, speak to me in ways I cannot possibly ignore. I give thanks for the voice of spirit that leads me to my greater good in all times, in every way, as I listen for that still small voice within. Just breathe another deep breath of thanksgiving, knowing that God is right here, right now, closer than our very breath, nearer than our hands and feet, always guiding us, speaking to us with that still small voice, the voice of spirit. And so it is, and so we let it be. I want to thank you for being with me here today, getting this message out. I think it's so important. Sorry if it inconvenienced you in any way, but you can come back here and you can listen over and over and over again. I want to thank all of you who look in online for these Sunday messages. I appreciate you. I do invite you to go to the page wherever you're seeing this and contribute to support this ministry. Unity in Fort Walton Beach is unityinfwb.org. There's an orange donate button on that page where you can contribute one time or make it multiple coming out on a regular basis, unityinfwb.org. So thanks for looking in, and I wish for you an infinitely spectacular day. God bless you.